Welcome back, naughty listeners. It's your salacious goddess, Ivy, and I am here to bring you episode 3 of my naughty bookshelf. In today's book, of course, we have a super deranged, yummy, but dark romance book. It is called The Devil's Vice by Mindy Paige. And man, wait till we get into the details. So without further ado, my naughty listeners, let's get into it. Mindy, I don't know you and you don't know me, so I'm going to refer to you as Miss Mindy Paige. Girl, baby girl, your book, it was a slow burn. It was, man, and like, again, sick, deranged heart. I got it. That's me. The character you wrote in Kane, that's absolutely daddy. But I think just the way you wrote this really made me, the plot, the storyline. It took a little bit for the spice, and I'm usually give me smut on page 1, okay? But the way you wrote this gave me, I could not wait to see what Kane was capable of in the bedroom, because what? And he's so sick, and what? And how, it's always really interesting to see how far you guys are willing to take it. And every single time I review an author who writes sick, deranged characters like that, I just fall in love. And I'm here to let you know, Mindy, baby, you ate that up. 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? Okay? Clean up on all 8. You did great. You did fucking great. You did great. Let's get into it. Okay, my naughty listeners, listen. Just like in every episode, I've let you know that, of course, that the books I read are a little sick and deranged or whatnot. I don't know. But I gave you a list of the trigger warnings and the content warnings in this book because I know I like this shit, but do you? And so before you watch my podcast yet again, I just have to let you know that I am reviewing fictional books, and we are in fantasy worlds at my naughty bookshelf, okay? Because in real life, no, but in my books, yes. So some of the trigger and content warnings are as follows. We have bondage, we have slapping, we have branding, we have breath play, we have primal play, we have toys, and some voyeurism. But for the full list of trigger and content warnings, of course, I am going to need you to go to Mindy's page and website at www.mindypagewrites.com. That way you can read the full list of trigger warnings. And I'm learning with every new episode. I also want to be able to give you just enough to not scare you away to watch, but also give you the opportunity to also go check out the author and what other books she has. Because if you don't like this, who knows if you're going to like another book. She might have one for you. But, this was right up my alley. So, let's keep going. So for this part, the yummy part, one of the yummy parts, the foreword, some people call it. I call it the book dedication. Let's read her book dedication to us, shall we, ladies? Because... But I guess this isn't a voice of either, it's Ghost. So, hello, darling. It's Ghost here. Did you read the content warning? Yes? What a good girl. I knew I could count on you to do what you were told. If you were smart, you would have run. But I suppose this is the next best thing. I know. But it's for your own good. And you're such a good girl, aren't you? Unless you're not. Unless you want to see what's inside to fill that pretty head with all sorts of depravity. We really are so alike, you and I. Since you're so determined, I guess I'll see you later. Till then, darling, kisses, Ghost. Girl, what? You don't get to tell me what to do. Of course I'm gonna stop. Let's just keep going. So, for the female character breakdown and the main male character breakdown, we have Lilith and Cain, which, Mindy girl, the names, like Lilith and Cain, stop playing. Because 5, 6, 7, 8 on that. Because, what? Lilith gives bad bitch, and Cain absolutely gives bad guy, right? Like, everybody should know the story, but oh my God, just So, Lilith is absolutely in healthcare. I think she's a pre med student, and someone who is in healthcare, absolutely am here for the healthcare representation because fuck yes. Like, this is what makes my little sick, deranged head go, that could be me. Because, like, what? What? Kane is the bad boy biker. I guess he comes from a family of very, very well, I can't really describe it. I know he had said like his mom's last name is what brought his dad into the world of the biker gang. But Kane is absolutely still given 6 foot. I have to give you a little bit of description on my boy because he is described as someone who has scarred half face. Like, I guess half his face was burnt. So he's actually blind out of one eye. And he often wears a mask on this side, 6 feet, tatted up, you know, the typical book daddy. And so what I also like is it gives another form of representation for not all our characters look like fucking gods, which they did say that other half of his face was very godlike. But I still love the representation of someone like Cain not being 100% godlike in his looks, right? His abilities, we'll get there. We'll get there. Then we have Ghost, which I can describe as he's not Kane's best friend, and I really wouldn't just put him as a main male character, but he's important because Kane will need him, and Kane will use him when needed, and that motherfucker will follow through anytime Kane needs him. And so I think it's important to bring him up. Then there's Wes, who is Kane's best friend, and then there's Carlotta. And apparently they describe her as just sex kitten of the club. I don't know if she's a biker per se, but she's like one of those girls who hangs out at a biker club, and she's just a sex goddess. Like, she's always in there just sucking dick, fucking, just throwing it back, moaning, touching herself. Everything you can imagine is Carlotta, but they also just describe her as being someone who's sultry and seductive and just genuine, and you genuinely want to end up fucking her. Like, I don't know. It made me, motherfucker. That's just me. That's just me. This is the part where I bring up the daddy-o-meter. After reading this book, Zayd is still up here. I'm sorry, Zayd is still number one. But there's nobody in number 2 because now I think Kane's taking number 3, and I'm not sure if it's Xavier slash Kane or Kane slash Xavier, but they're both like 3rd place to me right now. And it's not that I don't think Kane doesn't deserve 2nd place. I need another book about Kane for me to really put him in 2nd, because like even his work that he does, I don't want to give too many spoilers because I'm gonna give spoilers later on, but like Kane's line of work eventually still becomes really good, and everything that he's done for Lilith absolutely gives daddy. Like, I put you in the line of Zayd's work. You're pure without you knowing. You're hurt, you're rugged, you're just manly, daddy, primal. I get it. I'm having trust issues. I'm having trust issues putting anyone directly underneath Zayd, but like Kane is there. And you know, Kane is sick. Kane is fucking sick. And I love that shit. Okay? Like, he crosses some fucking boundaries that I would be like, no. And then later on, I would say yes. But, I think he's just tying 3rd place with Xavier. We'll get into the scenes that let you know. We'll get into it. So Lilith's character is a young woman who works in the ER. She has these vivid nightmares, and I believe in the very first chapter, she has this reoccurring nightmare about her parents' death. And it must have happened when she was around like 4 or 5, but it was brutal because it happened directly in front of her, and somehow she was able to escape. And I think being that young, and I believe she's now in her 20s, she might even be like 19 to 21, it's still hard for her to sleep without constantly having that nightmare, right? Because it's pretty fucking tragic. But apparently one night, enrolls in this man, and they just described him as this handsome fucking devil until he turned side of his face. And that is when you seen like a burn scar. And it wasn't a recent or fresh one, but it was clearly obvious that half his face was marred off and scarred. And he must have had like a white eye, so he's absolutely blind in one eye. And she said there was like some connection or some pull to this man, and she didn't know why. And she made sure to save him because he came in with another person and they could only save one. And her being in healthcare, and anyone in healthcare knows, like, you want to be able to save everyone who comes into the ER. You want to be able to save everyone that you interact with, because that's kind of a part of being a nurse and a doctor and all these healthcare officials. And she ended up saving him and helping him live and getting him together. And she just felt really sad. So I guess he seen her crying when he finally woke up. And there was like this instant chemistry, right? And, you know, being a doctor in healthcare, being a nurse in healthcare, I know like the one rule is like you're not allowed to mess around or date, fuck around, or have any personal relationships with your patients, right? But I think that there was like this natural pull, and they didn't just go off, you know, bumping and grinding. They didn't do that. But there was a pull to them and to him. And I think the minute he laid eyes on her, he was just possessive. He knew, like, she was someone I had to have. And so, you know, stalker alert came in. And, you know, we love a good main male character with some stalker syndromes. Like, for some strange reason, yes, daddy. So the minute he was able to leave the hospital, he was able to stalk his prey. And, you know, we like a little bit of that. We do. So in a grand scheme of things, she's working in the hospital. She just lost the bad boy biker because he ended up leaving prematurely. You know, being in a hospital, you're supposed to stay there and heal. He didn't want to do that. And it turns out that the biker gang that he's a part of has a rival biker gang, which is really important to note because there's always like a good biker gang and a bad biker gang. And even though this guy may seem like he's bad, he's not out here preying on women. And his rival biker gang is preying on women. And Lilith, being the innocent, by the way, virgin female character, I guess so many people were put into her life to take advantage of her because a lot of her co-workers at her job, other doctors, other nurses, other med students are befriending her just to sell her in a grand scheme of things. Like, basically, they want to put her in the sex trade. They want to take advantage of her. People have really bad intentions for this girl. And I guess when you know someone as techie as Kane knows Ghost, he was able to find out a lot of that just based off of, I guess, you know, what is that internet called? The black internet, the dark internet. I think he was able to see what was really going on behind the scenes. And this innocent girl that he now has found a liking to is in danger by so many other people. You know, being the stalker that he is, he now decides, you know what, that's my perfect excuse, is to be able to protect her because I would rather put her in danger because all these other people is actually trying to kill her. Like, I just want her for myself, and all these other people are genuinely trying to harm her. So a lot of, you know, the beginning of and the middle of the book is really him finding out that she has so many people trying to harm her, and she has no idea until one day he decides to just take her from her house. Yeah, he does. He just kidnaps her right from her home. He did knock her out, which I must say is a giant red flag, Mindy, because no. Also, I have to say this. He puts her in a cage. And I think just because I have something, I just don't like small spaces. No, again, okay? But then after he takes her out the cage, he makes her breakfast. And I'm like, you made up for it. Thank you. I don't want to go back in there, but like whatever I can do to stay out of the cage I'd really appreciate it. And so like there's like red flags, but like the green flag is like he cooks really, really good. And I'm just saying, if we're talking about villains and bad guys in a book, is it really so bad? Is it really that crazy? I don't know. That's just me. Kane is a bad motherfucker. Kane kills people. Cain kills people for her. He absolutely will refuse. He will not let someone live if he knows you have tried to put Lilith in harm's way. And a lot of people have. And before he actually takes her, he kills a lot of people. And then after he takes her, he's very just possessive of knowing, like, you're not allowed to leave my house. And I like the way they describe where he lives. Apparently, he lives so deep, deep, deep out of the way, like most crazy people do. But like apparently it's like eucalyptus just growing all around his house, which I just want to say, as a person who loves scent, yes, okay. If I walk out of your house and smell eucalyptus, boy, I'm never leaving. And then he has a greenhouse and he grows all his vegetables. Like, what type of crazy person grows their own veggies? Does that really make him crazy though? It makes him patient. You got to think about that, all right? We got to really think about what we're calling this man. Is he really danger to me while he's growing tomatoes in his yard? I can trust that type of man. Now, can you? I don't know. But obviously he wants to protect me and feed me really good food. So I'm here for it. I'm here for it. So in more of the book, I think the first part of the book is him staking claim on Lilith. And then the second part of the book is absolutely him and his side of business, like what he does with his biker gang. His biker gang is just shady. It's not that they were always shady. It was just the simple fact that I guess they're doing a patch over where his rival biker gang and his biker gang are now having to merge because the leader was just doing some shady practices. And by the way, Cain is second in command. So his father was the actual leader of the rival gang. You got to read the book to really understand how deep it goes. When I'm telling you, the story and the plot is so good. It's like there's a hidden agenda that these people have against Cain because Cain's just that motherfucker. Like when there's always people who want to test the biggest and the fucking baddest, and every single time they test him, they don't make it. I just don't get why you would want to test someone who you guys described as how you described him. Like, he's obviously the fucking go-to guy to kill people, the go-to guy to handle people, the go-to guy for you to leave him the fuck alone because he doesn't really like people that way. He has one best friend. He hardly talks to people. That's the person you stay away from. And yet everybody really wants to fuck with him. And I don't get it. I don't get it. And so the, second half of the book is about the motorcycle gangs merging. And of course, he's not okay with it, right? But he's also obsessed with Lilith right now and her safety. And he really doesn't give a fuck about this. But that is still something that makes him his money. His friends are there. He grew up in this motorcycle gang. So he has to be a part of it. He just doesn't have much of a say-so. And so when it turns out that he actually killed one of the leaders of the rival gang, the new leader that stepped up is kind of the reason why they ended up merging. It's because they were mad that he killed the leader. Daddy things, because we don't question why he did what he did. If he did it, he did it. I'm sorry. But yeah, so it's more so learning a lot about the biker gangs, why they had to merge, and why Cain really just can't trust none of them shady fuckers. And at one point, he happens to start growing into this loving relationship with Lilith. And this is a man who is very few words. I can't say he's insecure about his face, but he's also not big on showing it. And so while their relationship is blossoming back at his home, back at, the motorcycle club, shit's brewing. And so, having to tear yourself apart from, the person that you've stalked and stole, it's kind of what happened, to go back to this shitty job of having to manage men doing dumbass shit really stresses him out. And so eventually one day he brings her to the club. And I think from then on, people start realizing like who she is. Because again, so many people were trying to already kidnap and harm Lilith. So once he brings Lilith back into a circle of what's supposed to be safe for her, because as long as daddy's around, I know I'm safe, it seems like a lot of people kind of want to harm him. They now have a reason to harm this big bad motherfucker. You just showed us your weakness. So the story is really about this big tough guy and this sweet girl who's actually a badass. Like Lilith don't fuck around. He does show her how to fight and she knows how to protect herself, but it's really just a story of this man just wanting his prized possession and wanting people to leave her the fuck alone. And a lot of times he's had to stake his claim on her, which I will get into. But it's such a good read because you get a balance of the toxic love, right, that we all go for when it comes to dark romance. It's the dark love, right? The stalker, and it turns out that he really does love her and he's treating her good, and slowly she falls and he's falling back into what made him, what's making him, how he has to continuously be on guard. So he's still this big, bad, tough guy, even though this woman is making him soft behind the scenes. And he's becoming so infatuated with her that it makes him even more angry that men aren't letting him spend time with her. So it's just like a back and forth between love and then the manly work he has to do. And then when those two things combine, it almost is like he has to make this really crazy choice between, do you want to hang out with your bros in this club and do you stand for this club, or do you want this woman? And what are you willing to do to keep her? Because now that people know your weakness, you always know that someone's going to try and take that weakness to fuck with you, to harm you, to get back at you. And yeah, yeah, that's kind of really the whole thing of this book. It was a great read because you really do fall for Cain, and you fall for his love, and you fall for Lilith and how she falls in love with him and she trusts him after a while, and there's just so much going on. But I loved it. So of course I have to give you guys some of my favorite quotes of the book, because every book has some things that one of the characters have said that is obviously just top tier. These are my top 4 quotes in this book. The first one is, Lilith calls him a sociopath. Literally, because obviously he's very hot tempered. Like, it's like one minute he's, are you okay? Let me do that for you. And the next minute is like, turn around, get in your cage, lay down, sit down. He's very demanding and very serious about it. And she tries to make him laugh very often, but it doesn't happen towards in the very beginning of the book, you know? So he corrects her and literally goes, no, I'm not a sociopath. I'm a psychopath. And it's like, I know she was like, there's a difference. And he literally says, a sociopath is made that way. A psychopath is born that way. And I was like, you ate with that one, sir. Because yes, you are. And the fact that you own up to it makes me realize I love you for that. Own up to your red flags, baby. That's my psychopath right there. Absolutely. Okay, and so the next one's a little dirty because, you know, my naughty bookshelf. Who would I be if we don't get into the sex scenes, right? But in one of their about to sex scenes, again, she is a virgin. And so he has this thing where he is not going to fuck her until he brands her, which, I mean, but like, so of course, he says, I'm not just going to fuck you, little flower. Let's try this again. I'm not just going to fuck you, little flower. I'm going to break you. I'm going to make you come so hard and so often that little brilliant brain of yours turns to mush until all you're good for is a wet hole to put my cock in. Sir, how fucking dare you yes that? Okay, how do we get started? What's the process? Like, you want me to, what do you need me to do? Because that sounds fucking like you have some grade A dick going for me. I don't know. I'm just, okay, Kane. Okay. Anywho, another one is a little bit towards the end of the book, and this is when he really started realizing that like Lilith is just a light in his life. And obviously this man has been through so much. Like, to have a scarred face, there's a story behind it. And I don't want to give you that story because you have to read this book. He is really a man who's overcame so much, and he does not let that be his like surviving story. Like, he really doesn't even like talking about it. He's just that OG. And so he falls for this woman who started making him laugh, and they make quirky comments, and he's making her fucking banana pancakes every morning, and they have like this bond that makes him realize like that his dark heart started cracking open and sunshine's coming out, and he's like, what the fuck is happening, right? A lot of people don't, when they're in that dark self-loathing part of their life, which he probably was, and just used murder and his gang as a way to overcome a lot of the things he's dealt with in his life, having Lilith in his life has helped. And so he had said to her, and I quote, "I don't deserve you, Lilith. No fucking man on this earth does. But I'm selfish, and that's exactly why I can never let you go, no matter how much better you deserve." And it was just like, baby, I'm not going nowhere. I got you. I fucking got you. But then my last quote is, because after this, I'm going to get into the sexier parts. He just said to her, he had said that she's being disobedient. And literally, she was like, "What do you mean?" But she was pulling away from a sex or something in the bedroom. And he said, pulling away from correction is disobedience. And we discipline that. Like, you don't ever get to tell me stop, if it's too much. No. And so it was just something about that he literally told her what was considered disobedience, which you could have told me before I did that. That way I would have known, because how would I have known, Kane? How would I know? Now, the sex scenes in this book, I must say, this is in no way... I think it's always hard for me to read a book where the female character is a virgin because, girl, I am not a virgin, okay? Not. And so the way this one was written, though, it was fun because, Mindy, girl, I always have to... You gave Lilith this fire, this attitude in her where, like, a lot of the other books I've read where, there's the virgin trope, just so innocent. And so, like, she wanted it. She took the aggression and the pain, and someone who loves pain. And I have a high pain tolerance, and you gave that to the character, to her, and she was able to really match Kane's psychopath, his sickness, his deranged fucking fucked upness, and I'm here for it. And so I can only really give you my top 2 sex scenes, but I will say that Kane he's a little aggressive. He's a little is it's a wild word to use when it comes to this man. But he does like biting, and he loves taking his aggression out on Lilith. And so because he works all day at this manly job and he's stressed out, and trust me, they're stressing him the fuck out, he is known to take it out on Lilith. And so my first major sex scene that I absolutely adored in this there was a scene where and again, I don't want to fuck this scene up, so I'm going to tell you what I remember reading about it. He has a sex dungeon basement room type thing, and he ties up her arms and her legs, and she might be over on like a sex bench. I'm not quite sure, but she's completely helpless, and he decides to fuck her with a sex toy machine, which is like a dildo at one end, and it's obviously just automatically penetrating her. And then he ties a vibrator to the front of her, and this motherfucker walks away. This motherfucker leaves the room and goes, I'll be right back. I gotta go handle something at the club, but I'll be back. But he's sick and he's deranged, and obviously he has fucking cameras set up in this room. So as he's gone, he's watching this woman combust multiple times after multiple times, and there's no way she can pull away and stop and just say no, turn the fucking machine off. She's just having multiple orgasms. And I don't know what it is about that. But then he comes back, and it's just like, you're still ready for more, sir. What do you mean? You were gone for an hour. You got to think about this. But, yeah, no, Kane is a different level of you sadistic fucking bitch. Because what? Anywho, he does end up branding her and then fucking the shit out of her. And so every single part of Kane is just, it's yummy. It's yummy. My next one is, the voyeurism. Okay, we really need to talk about this, but we don't really need to talk about it because I'm not trying to expose myself too much. I think doing this podcast is enough. He brings her to the club, and he makes her wear a collar and a leash because you belong to me, you're mine. And the new leader of this is when the patch over, the merging of the two rival gangs have happened. A guy that he fucking absolutely can't stand, Calum, is just staring at Lilith. And so of course, Kane decides to stake his claim, tells her to sit on his lap, unzips his pants, pulls up her dress, and absolutely fucks the shit out of her. And this is the biker club, so I'm sure they've seen sex happening, right? But this is sex with a god like Kane. Like, this man is quiet, is in and out, but like, he absolutely ravished her and had her coming and saying his name in front of multiple people, to where multiple people are now like, bro, I want a little bit of that. Like, I've never seen Kane fuck anybody, and it's this little goddess, this little temptress that's gotten him. So this is where, like, as much it was a good idea, it just made a lot of people jealous and angry and mad, and now they want what he has. So yes, you staked your claim on your girl, but you just made so many people upset because she really combusted and moaned his name in front of everybody in the club. And the biker club is just a bunch of horny fucking guys with motorcycle jackets who ride bikes all day and probably beat a few people up. Some of them might kill people, but with all that testosterone, where does it go? Where's it going? I'm just saying, ladies, find you a biker. For the very last part of the book, it is basically, like I said, the first half was him getting to, stalk and claim Lilith. The second half is, about the merger, the patch over between his job and still dealing with Lilith and between all that. And the last part is when everyone realizes that they want to hurt Lilith to get back at Kane, to get Kane to submit, because obviously he's an out of control guy. And this is where Ghost comes in handy, because Ghost is his right hand man. He won't call him his best friend, but Ghost is someone he can trust. Shady, sketchy motherfucker, but Ghost gets shit done. And if he says he's gonna do something, that motherfucker always comes through. And so it's really just so many people try to take Lilith from him. And again, Kane is batshit fucking crazy. So when you fuck with someone that he loves, such as Lilith, he starts going on a rampage. He's killing people, he's murdering people, everyone gets shot. He does not give a fuck. And there are so many parts of this book that were like, oh my God, Kane, oh my God, baby, I'm sorry. Like, he's just been through a lot. He has. And I just gotta say, like, the writing was so good that this shirt literally says, I prefer fairy tales that are dark and smutty. Mindy, girl, you have given me the best dark and smutty fairy tale, because even the fucking ending was just, it was perfect. It was a love story. It started off one sick, twisted, deranged way, and just the way you was able to end it with him being happy with her was just like, I fell for Kane and Lilith. I did. I love their love. I really hope you write more. I am in awe at how you was able to take someone like Kane and Ghost and Lilith and give it a story that can keep going. There could be more. There could be so much more. I got to give you a little spoiler alert. She got pulled from being a med student because he obviously stole her. But towards the end, because that, the hospital she was working at was sketchy and some of the people trying to kidnap her there, they got her set up at a hospital that's fancy and bougie, and she gets to help women who are abused or being kidnapped or being trafficked. And so it's just like, Kane is that guy, because he's doing a little bit of Zayd's work here. I'm like, oh my God, stop. So fangirl moment over Zayd, not just Zayd, but Kane. I think I'm so used to talking about Zayd that he just automatically sips out, but over Kane, because, oh my God, you did a good job. You did a really good job. I am absolutely excited to know that I read The Devil's Vice. I know there are more books, but I know it might be Ghost story or someone else's story, but Kane's story got me hooked. And I'm hoping that there might be little bit of pieces of them in the other stories, but we'll talk about that another time. So, absolutely fucking loved it. And Mindy, girl, keep fucking writing. Keep fucking writing. Because I'm going to keep reading. I'm going to keep fucking reading. With that being said, my naughty listeners, every single time I get to sit here and review a book, I'm grateful. I'm glad. My little bookish, muddy heart is just so pleased to know that I hope I got you to be able to read this book. I hope I got you to know a little bit more about it. And just know that there are so many more. I am reviewing both dark romance and dark fantasy, and I gotta step it up and give you guys some dark fantasy. I gotta give you guys vampires. I gotta give you guys dragons, gods. I've read so many that I might have to read it a second time now that I'm actually doing my naughty podcast, and it's just something that I want you guys to know I'm so grateful to do. I'm blessed. I love it, and thank you again for tuning in and listen to me fangirl over some of my favorite fictional characters, their naughty scenes, their big dicks, their 6 feet, their height, their sex, their derangedness. I'm here for it all. And just to be able to do this, I'm really thankful for it. So yet again, I will see you guys again on episode 4 of my Naughty Bookshelf.